All right, last episode of Jack Chat's podcast here. Hope you guys enjoyed listening to it and got some interesting insights from my interesting friends and I. If you did, leave a comment, let me know what you think and whether you'd like to hear more in the future. Also, please subscribe. Today I speak to Jeremy Kleynhans, world-class drummer, and let me just look at his list of accolades. Jeremy has played with such artists as Akira Isabella, Juno Award winner Brett Kissel, Grammy winner Alessia Cara, gold-selling Alex Feliz, Juno Award winner Kelly Lee Evans, the Abrams, the Reclaws, Michelle Tracy. Man, I don't know some of these guys, but they are all major label artists, and I am not in the know. So Jeremy's played with a whole bunch of dudes, and I'm just going to stop the list there because there's a lot more. He's opened and toured alongside of such artists as Snoop Dogg, Keith Urban, Billy Talent, Rascal Flatts, Mary J. Blige, Sublime with Rome, Nicky Jam, Jordan Knight from New Kids on the Block, 311, Travis Tritt, Dirty Heads, Matthew Good, and many more. Jeremy has his own, he's the only friend I know who has his own signature drumstick from Vater. He's been successful at something that not everybody who goes to school for music or pursues a career in music has the chance to do, and that's to be a pro at the instrument he plays. Jeremy is a very long-time friend of mine, and despite his modesty in this talk, over the years he said some really powerful things that, whether he knows it or not, have moved me and changed my perception. So, without further ado, here it is. Take a listen. Test.
Check.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good.
Is it too loud, or it's perfect, or?
No, it's good. What's your shirt?
Oh, Bohol, Philippines. I don't know. It's like tarsier. It's the animal that's this cute little weird rodent thingy. I think it's a rodent. I forget, but in Bohol, Philippines, it's just kind of like a Starbucks impersonation. The Philippines are weird.
How is the Philippines?
It was awesome.
No.
Are we filming that? Oh.
I didn't want to say it because now now we're both gonna change our.
I was just like, maybe should I come close to the mic?
No, that's fair. It's just like usually the initial, even though since there's no live stream, we have to remember there's no one listening to this. It's like we're having a normal conversation, except for some reason we have two microphones, one in front of each of us, and it sort of stilts the conversation.
Right,
at least
and my
initially.
hand's shaking like crazy. But everything's really
Isn't
normal.
that crazy? Like, why is that? Why is it that again, given the actual scenario, all that's happening right now is I'm recording us. No one else has heard this. Is it the threat of other people hearing you?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the classic thing where it's like it's not something you do every time. I mean, you do, but for me, it's not an everyday occurrence. So it's just strange. It's a strange, unfamiliar thing, Right.
That's true. Yeah, I guess just the fact. Yeah, it's just interesting because usually it goes away. What I found from the last few times of doing it is it goes away after a period of time, but initially it's kind of like there's this weird like kind of posturing when you're talking. Like I don't know how to explain why that happens, but it's a regular conversation, but it's not.
Right. I mean, it's a skill. I mean, like, my wife went to Toastmasters and, like, learn how to public speak and all this stuff. And it's a whole thing, It's interesting. I mean, it's something I've always really wanted to do. And that's why when you asked to do the podcast, I was like, I never want to turn down something because I know it's good. It's a good challenge or whatever. Yeah. But it was definitely like, ugh.
So have you ever done interviews, like, in bands you've played before?
Yes. And actually, well, it's different because like, you're around, it's never just been me. I'm never a singer, like obviously, right? So it's been me, like I've been, in a lineup of 4 people or 2 people and I can just pass off,
So are you typically, because usually what I find is like, it's like watching an interview with like Van Halen or something like that, and like Alex Van Halen is like
super quiet.
Yeah. Everyone like they get the drummer in for like as like a it's a consolation prize kind of deal, but like, they don't say anything.
My favorite is Blink-182, Travis Barker. He would like nothing, like he would just look so bored, and he would purposely. It was kind of his thing. I liked it. It was really cool. But that's not my personality. I would blabber and I'd talk.
Okay.
I mean, I've definitely done some interviews where I'm like, what the hell was I talking about?
Yeah, because it's what I found with interviews is one person can kind of just put it, one person in the band is probably sufficient to answer whatever the question is, don't you think? Like,
yeah, I mean, like, the bands that have it right, they figured out, like, they figured out who the best speakers are and who should do it, and then they just send them off, and they don't even, like, bring, unless they, bring the other members, unless the other one isn't available, or... Yeah, well, mostly, I mean, unless, or the radio, like, sometimes TV plays or the radio station will request the whole band, they, if it's a visual thing or whatever, but... Yeah, anyway. But back to your first question, how was the Philippines?
Yes, how was the Philippines?
It was great. I was there longer than, longer than's comfortable for me, like, being whatever, a workaholic or whatever. Like, every few years, I'd say 5 years ago, I went to South Africa, where I'm from, and took my then girlfriend, now wife, and it was great, but it's always a weird thing being away for so long. But this time I actually really relaxed into it and was like, you know what, I'm just going to really enjoy it, and it was amazing. It was cool. I'd never been to that part of the world before.
So did you find yourself? Do you think that that's something that's come with your wisdom as time has gone on, your ability to actually let go during a vacation?
I think it's something that I realize I'm going to kill myself if I don't do that. It's like, or it's. The longer time goes on, you start to realize this is a fight. You're just going to keep fighting unless you learn how to deal with it. It's just fear of missing out. I mean, that's any kind of thing, being away, so far away, and knowing that, like, hey, can you do this? I can't, I'm away. And just being okay with it, being like, this is the time that I need to do it. And I have some friends that are, like, very successful, and they've kind of showed me how they do it. I mean, like, one friend makes every Monday, like, she never... it's like her day. She doesn't touch the internet and, touch, or not the internet, but like her Gmail, and, doesn't answer phones. And I mean, she has a team. It's different, that they can answer for her. But I mean, yeah, it's cool to see that, like, you do. It's like, we're not robots. We need like time to decompress and detoxify and all that stuff. So it's something that I've sort of fought against, but now I'm, more pro it. And also it just makes you come better. You just come back and you're better at what you do. You're refreshed. You're revitalized. So yeah, it was awesome, man. Like, and I did actually get to play. we were staying in a hotel in, where was it? Cebu, I think. Yeah, Cebu. And there was a hotel band, and all Filipino bands are killer. Like, they know so, because I think their biggest export is people, from what I've heard. Like, in terms of, like, nannies or whatever it is, or like they, like, what do they call them again? There's a name. Overseas worker or something workers, POW. I can't remember the name, but it's like either caregivers or musicians go and play cruise ships and everything like that. So they all know so many songs, and they're great. And we stayed at this one, but my mother-in-law went and talked to the band behind my back and tried to get them to get me up, and I did, and I was like, they'll get me to play one song, and then end up staying there for the whole set.
No way, that's awesome.
They just kept going from song into song into song, and they were amazing, man. The singer, one of the singers was just like, she did a Whitney song and killed it. Like,
that's sick.
And they're just playing a hotel lobby and just crushing it.
Right.
Not lobby, sorry, hotel bar.
Right, and that's, yeah. So you mean it's like, yeah, stuff like that is kind of crazy how. It's like there's probably, like, I hope people responded to that, you know what I mean? Just like a hotel bar. Yeah, and you're like giving the performance of your life, and then there's someone off in the corner. It's like, excuse me, could you tell them it's a little loud over there?
Right,
I'm trying to talk on a cell phone.
Yeah, no. They like, musicians love playing, and then people love listening.
Okay,
it was a dance party, man. It was crazy.
So would you say there's a legitimate difference between, say, doing a jobbing gig there versus doing, at least from that one time, versus your experience over here?
Oh man,
I know that this would be like very biased in general, but like,
it's hard to say. I mean, like, a jobbing gig, like Toronto's obviously a very healthy scene for that, in terms of the musicians. There's a lot of work like that and stuff like that. You're talking about like people appreciating it or whatever. Yeah,
I guess reception for if you have like a killer band,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just think it's like anything. It depends on, you can have a killer band in the wrong setting and it's just not appreciated, right? And a killer band in the right setting is appreciated, and this was definitely appreciated. And in Toronto, it can be appreciated too. I mean, there's times when it's not, but then It's like, I think it's the wrong setting, or it's just the wrong tone, or whatever
Yeah.
it is, you know?
No, that's
I'm not
fair.
really like, I don't know, like...
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think it's an easy thing. Anytime someone travels and then comes back, I feel like it's almost like a lot of times people will be like, it's so much better in every way. Like, man, those South American, European, Japanese, Chinese, whatever audiences, dude, yeah, they just like they respond that, you know, like it's always that. And I think maybe that's from people who sort of don't travel that much, and when they do, it's a big surprise and they get into it. But if you travel a lot, like, you start to realize Canada has a lot of great things and a lot of not so great things, and there's things, you know, every place has got its pros and cons, and you just got to pick where you want to live, that, you know, the cons are not so bad, you know, like, you know what I mean? Right.
That, or whatever. In terms of the music thing, yeah, like, I don't know. Yeah, just try to see the bright side of everything, because what's the point of, you know, looking like being jaded about it or something? I mean, there's, you know, even when there's, dude, like, even when if I'm on a gig and it's like, you know, like, you know, it's not being received well or whatever it is, I just enjoy like the snare drum tone or whatever. I'll just
well, that's a very good way to approach it.
Yeah, I'll just find something else. It's not, you can't look at one thing to make or break your gig. You know?
Do you think that it took you time to, or did you always have that kind of a perspective? Because on your expectations versus reality, or your expectations of, I suppose it's mainly your kind of self-important expectations of wanting to be received warmly wherever you go for this wonderful talent that you're imparting upon people. Recognizing that it usually, I don't know, for me at least, it usually isn't met. But I don't know if that's because it's a finite thing. I think it's more just I just haven't figured out how to be like cool with whatever's there. So I mean, have you always been? I guess the question for you is: have you always been that way, or did it take you time to just kind of be like, well, there's a lot of cool stuff about this, you know, what's happening right now?
Yeah, I mean, I try for the most part to see the bigger picture. Like, I've played in so many different settings, and yeah, when you're playing your own, say, like your own music, and you know, I do have memories of like playing. I don't know, but it's like I have memories of playing, and the other band members would be bummed, you know, to like a bar, and there's like nobody there, and you're playing your own music and stuff like that. But I kind of always like had this punk rock thing. It's just like, you know, you got to play every day and push it, and like if one person likes your band and buys a CD, that's huge, and that'll spread to 5 people. So I think maybe it was a bit naive, or is a bit naive, but certainly better than the other view of just like, fuck this, you know, this sucks. So and then it's like, yeah, like I'm kind of like lucky enough where it's like I'll do a gig one day and then a different gig the next, and they're completely different. So I think if I was playing the same, you know, like every day trying to push the same thing and it wasn't being received, that would be pretty hard on the soul. Or you know, playing to nobody, or playing to people who didn't care every day, that would get hard on the soul. In a way, I'm lucky in that way, but also I think just everybody's duty is to figure out like how they can best enjoy their life. You know, like, dude, like, I mean, it's pretty crazy to be able to play, say, piano or whatever it is for a living and then complain. I mean, and even if nobody's enjoying it or whatever, it's like there's people who go to, you know, work a job they hate, and you know, it's nothing's about being received well. It's just about doing your job and clocking in, clocking out. And so it's, you know, we're still pretty lucky that we get to like play an instrument. But yeah, definitely it's, I don't know if it's wisdom. I think it's just over time, it's hard to think about. Like, yeah, just different experiences and things that like show me, okay, this works and this is going to go well, or this isn't and this is going to go well. I've never really cared about how if people are like, I want people to enjoy it, but if they're not because it's a setting that's not the right setting, I'll just, you know, realize I'm there to do a thing, and then I'm gone, you know? Right.
So what do you think contributes to a live setting being like the perfect setting?
I think I mean, we're talking like this spawned. This spawned from you're talking about like the jobbing thing.
So
like,
let's take it out of the jobbing
Yeah,
world
yeah,
because
yeah.
that's an imperfect world most of the time for getting roaring appreciation from
Right.
from a crowd. Take it into the world of like musicians and bands and acts that people are like feel really passionately about. Like what or just in general, like what contributes to a show being like
well received.
yeah.
Oh, I mean, like
just being like a sick show.
yeah, I mean, like I think it's just like expectations to begin with. I mean, tonight I'm gonna go. I have the day off, so I'm gonna go see a friend. We were talking before this podcast started how like Devin he's a year younger than me, and he was. We were both drummers in South Africa, where I grew up in Cape Town, at Beau Soleil Music School.
Beau Soleil.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'd play in the percussion section in the orchestra. Anyway, so he's doing very well now. He's playing with this guy called Jeremy Loops, who anybody in South Africa knows him, and he's killing it in Europe. And not as big here as in Europe, but he's like...
Well, it's the fact that he's even come across to Canada from South Africa. I mean,
yeah,
there's only so many people who are going to do that, I think.
Dude, totally. And I was lucky the last time he came, I was also in town. I wasn't on tour or anything, and he played Sneaky D's, and now he's playing Adelaide Hall, and I'm not sure if it's sold out, but it's probably pretty close. But yeah, like anyway, I'm going and I'm stoked already. Like I haven't checked out his new album. I need to do that actually before I go. But I love the first album, and Devin's a killer drummer, and just like I'm so stoked for the show, and like
Right.
that's how can it be? There's going to be like excitement. I just know it. So that's just because like I know what I'm going to see and stuff like that. I mean, the opening band. Okay, let's just take the opening band then, because then there's an opening band like that already. They're in a handicap because I don't really care yet about seeing them.
I mean, is it like even in question as to whether you'll make it there in time
exactly.
for the opening
See,
band?
and that's
like...
the thing, and that's just like it's just that X Factor thing. You just got to get to that Jeremy Loop situation where you've created a buzz and people want to come see you because there's a buzz. And if you don't have that buzz, you got to try to create that buzz. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
I mean, that's like a very narrow example, but that's kind of like the live setting just is off the hook already because it's like for me and I know for everybody else, like it's a unique thing. Like there's a cool factor that he's from South Africa, and a lot of like all the people. It's always kind of cool to me to, being from there and stuff, just to look at all the crowd. I mean, last time there wasn't that many South Africans. It's just kind of like a lot of kids who just know who he is, and I guess it's Spotify or whatever.
Internet,
but like, I always wonder how, like how did you guys find this? I'm gonna ask people tonight. I'm like, how did you? I'm just gonna go up to a random person and just say, how did you hear about this guy?
I think it's amazing how much it still boils down to something like a movie or a commercial.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know in his case, but
I don't know.
just
I'm gonna ask Devin. I don't know. Like, yeah, maybe he had a little hookup in a video game or a commercial or something like that. But I have no idea.
Yeah, I'd be curious. But yeah, I was. The expectation is like. I think I had downplayed the expectation, but like when I saw Tom Uhouse play on Saturday.
Oh,
with
cool.
With his girlfriend Joan Smith, and it's like a.
She plays for Serena Ride.
I think yes, I think I heard that. Yeah, she's
Right.
like a backup guitar player or singer or something.
Great, yeah.
Yeah, she's a great singer.
Sorry, it was
they
her
put up. Yeah, it was her band or their band, and they put up a video, and it was like this sick video, man. It was like really cryptic. I don't really have to get into details, but like, and then the fucking font that she chose. Her album's called Normalize. It's like Normalize, and it's like the font from like either like The Exorcist or like Suspiria, some movie from the horror movie from the 70s, or it looks like it. It reminds me of it, and it's just playing to my. So it was that combined with this being at the Dakota Tavern, which I associate as being like boring roots rock place with a scene that I'm not
alt country
and a bunch of people showing up who just know that the Dakota is where stuff happens. Like
right.
I don't not like it. The quality is usually really good, but it's like I don't know. I don't dig the shit that much usually. So the fact that this kind of like unusually intense thing was coming to this place was interesting to me. The fact that someone I knew was involved in making it created a genuine expectation, or not expectation, but just like just excitement over the event, over the coming of the event, and I gave it a vibe as well off the bat. So it's just like I don't know if I can't explain what it was, like what exactly that vibe is, but you know, it's like when you have time to like let that thing crystallize, like, you know, I was like probably a little bit more stoked for it than I was for like Metallica. Well, because like I don't know, I wasn't at the time that I saw Metallica, I wasn't like a huge fan anymore. It was like, yeah, that'd be sweet, let's do that. I've never seen this band before. I used to love them. So you know, you got to be in the right time and place for it.
Right. How were they received?
Oh, they received well. I mean, I don't know how many people in the room were like friends of. Probably more than not. It was like Tobin had it right. Tobin came with me,
cool.
and
I missed that guy.
he called it. He said it was like desert rock.
Like Queens of the Stone Age.
Yeah, and that would be the first thing I'd think to name check, which I thought was really cool. Again, because it was at the Dakota, which is usually like.
Yeah, but that's still. You know, it's like I can see that there.
You can? Okay,
Definitely.
Maybe I just haven't seen enough shit
Still
there.
yeah, desert. I mean, you know, Dakota's got that vibe. Like, you
Yeah,
know,
but it's heavier. It's heavier than like what you
Yeah.
typically see at the Dakota.
true. But you know, is bluesy kind of? There's a little bit of blues to it.
I mean, yeah, but it's like post blues. You know, it's like there wouldn't be any like silly tropes, like silly things that I don't know. Blues rock is kind of almost like.
Do they have any endings that went dun, 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 dun,
Yeah, right. And Tom was like, beam, beam.
Yeah, just throw that on to the ending of like.
Yo, man, do you think like I've talked with people? Do you think like blues is kind of like in the museum now? Do you think like it's possible for blues to not be an old man thing?
No. I think it's always gonna be around. I think it's just like anything. It's like jazz or blues.
Do you know like the Ottawa Blues and Jazz Fest or like
dude, the Chili Peppers headline?
I mean, yeah, that's that's a bad example. That's a bad example. Was there even any actual blues
I don't
acts?
think so. I have a friend who I play in a pop act with, and he's from Ottawa. He has it's called the Lucas Hanneman Express. They're wicked, actually. He's a killer guitar player, and he says there's a scene there. I mean, I think he does play the Ottawa Blues, but they play on the side stage, and it's like a blues stage, you know.
Okay.
Just, like so small, and yeah, it's a pop thing. It's a rock pop. I played Ottawa Blues Fest as with a country act, like
Right.
So I don't know. It's just all over the place. But I don't know, man. Like the blues scene. I mean, I've still never been to Grossman's Tavern.
Never been to Grossman's?
Never been to Grossman's Tavern. It's probably the only venue I've never been to.
Now, why is that? You just haven't known anyone who was playing there?
I've never. I think once somebody was like, I'm playing. I'm like, I should go because I've never been there, and then I didn't go, and then I really should. I just don't even know what it looks like inside. It's crazy.
It's not much to like look at inside, but it's kind of like
it's a dive bar. Right?
Yeah, it's kind of the point, I think.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean I loved Silver Dollar. Obviously, that's a blues place, but I mean, whatever, they had blues, but that's gone. I hope Grossman's doesn't go before I visit it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's crazy. That Silver Dollar.
That was really sad, man. Like anytime I wasn't on tour, I'd be like kind of circa 2010 to 2015. No, the heyday for me was like 2012, going to see the Crazy Strings every Wednesday night at Silver Dollar.
Yeah, absolutely.
Best, man. Like $3 Jamesons. How much were pints back? Like maybe $3 Big Wheel or I can't. It was just
maybe, but like for a period of time, like the entrance fee was like $3, wasn't it?
Yeah.
For like then it went to $5, and then I think at the tail end it was like 10. It was
maybe
like
I was
the
there
end
for
of
one
the
of the
empire.
last ones I had too. There was a bazillion people out and stuff, but they Liz lived right behind like the house. She would go every Wednesday, so she just got to know them, and she would never pay. Like every time I went there, it'd be like, "Oh, hey, what's up? Come on in," you know.
Nice.
Hilarious. But the band was so good. Anyway, whatever. We've gone off a tangent from blues. I don't know much. I don't know, man, about the scene.
Oh, just like I don't know.
I
It's
have like friends who do it, and
it's just like blues. I guess I'm assuming that you've probably played. Like I don't know the full extent of like. Of like jobs that you've done. Mm-hmm. Like have you played with blues acts before, blues bands?
Very little, not really. Like, yeah, I'm trying to think, man. I always blank on this kind of stuff, but No, not in the last few years. It's definitely not been that at all. When I first moved here, it was like, played with one guy who was kind of like that, and he'd play like Heelys when it was the old Heelys and stuff, and there was a whole scene, and I remember seeing that. And yeah, I've definitely done it over time, and I'm just blanking on with who, and yeah, anyway.
So do you, so now do you find yourself playing, is there a rhythm in terms of like, are you kind of more fine-tuned, honed in on a certain number of people that you typically play with, as opposed to stuff here and there? And
no, it's both. So it'll be, I kind of find that there'll be a band or a few bands that sort of work a lot, and then it's a constant schedule juggling thing, but I'll be out with them, touring with them a bunch, and I'll try to, mismatch, and then it's just like everything in between. Like on Monday, I did a studio session with this guy, and I played a little bit with him in February, but he just, he's got a record coming out now, and so it's like, yeah, but I'm not like going to be out with him all year like the other bands and stuff like that. Maybe, but who knows?
So like for the summer, for example, like I know summer is like typically a busy time because of like festivals and stuff.
Exactly.
Like what's a summer like?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of starts ramping up now. Like, next week I'm in Nashville with this band called the Reckless, who are awesome. They're this new, like, Universal's sort of new buzz band, country buzz band. And yeah, we're doing this crazy thing in Nashville, playing for like sort of a VIP contest winning thing that we did when we were out in Alberta. And then all these fans who won get flown down in their own private plane or something to go see us, and I think Dirks Bentley. Well, I'm not exactly sure how it's working, but it's like a rooftop thing, and Dirks Bentley's playing or something like that. I got to figure out what it is. But anyway, we're flying down to Nashville to do it for a day, coming back, and then it's like I'm just out in a lot of festivals. I'm doing a tour, across Canada tour, like arena tour with this artist. And
which one?
That's Scott Hellman. Okay. So he's a
I don't know
artist.
any of these people, so
yeah. It's us and Vance Joy and another act. Vance Joy is obviously
Vance Joy is that's a name, right?
Yeah, that's I think he's from New Zealand.
Is he a country person also?
No, it's like the kind of the folk rock revolution, I want to say, but actually
folk rock revolution.
Part, like it's not like Mumford and Sons, but it's in that.
Is that what that movement is called?
Yeah,
the folk rock revolution.
Folk rock revolution.
I missed out. See, like this is a good reason to talk to you. I don't even know drummer, except obviously they have a drummer for you. But Mumford and Sons, they didn't have a drummer, right?
I think it is a guy with a kick drum or something. I've never seen them actually. But,
no, neither have I.
But
that was that was like 2010. 2010 was like Mumford and Sons.
Yeah, they're still huge and going. I played what was it? City Folk Fest last year or the year before? Was it the year before? And then Vance Joy played that. They headlined that festival. I got to watch their sound check. It was good, man. Like they have a whole horn section and blah blah blah. Anyway, so yeah, it's just a lot of that. Like doing out for a run for 2 weeks and back, and then out for a different run for 2 weeks and back, and then sometimes I can't be on. I deal with that a lot, where it's like, oh man, like I'm booked on something, but then I have a whole run. I'm booked on like a one-off in Nova Scotia or something like that, and then I have a whole run with another artist, and then I've got a bunch of drummers that are excellent, that are friends of mine that sub in for me and do a great job, and make it so that it can all happen. That's basically how it is.
So you mean when you have a one-off that's like you booked for a one-off, but then they're like, hey, there's this 2-week long thing. So then you give is that what you're saying? You give the
right. Well, depending. I mean, it depends how it goes down. Like just yesterday, I was dealing with a band that was totally understanding, but it's like, yeah, I have a one-off, and they already had like they tried to. I mean, this is all very boring scheduling stuff, but they tried to get me to play a show, and I couldn't do it. So they had to get another drummer. I recommended another drummer to them, and they've used him before, and he's awesome. So it's not a big deal. It's like, hey, I can't do this show. Can this dude, this dude's available? And they're like, cool, it's actually cool because, it just creates a little bit of a fresh environment. It's not the same, the same people always working together and getting sick of each other. And it's, it's nice to have a fresh face when, who can do a great job. I mean, yeah, it's cool. But I try to, like that same band that I'm not doing that one show with, I'm doing a whole tour in the States with them in September. So, yeah.
So you're still the
I'm still the main
drummer.
guy.
Yeah.
I'm still the main guy. And it's like, everybody kind of, it's just a disclaimer that I give them. Like it's pretty honest, and it's always fair, and it's always like very cleanly taken care of. It's never a big problem,
So this band, did they have a drummer before, or had they used you from the beginning, or like does the gig get passed off to you?
Man,
or?
it just depends how things go down. Like a lot of times, yeah, it's happened every which way you can imagine. Like sometimes, this one band I play in now, like they kind of fired their whole band. Not fired, but they moved on. Like they wanted to do a different thing. And
but there was like 2 people who formed the actual band.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like when you're playing for artists, quote unquote, even though it's a band, like say the Abrams or something, it's John and James, and the rest of us are his backing band, and they need to do whatever they need to do to make their show the best in the way they want to work it. So whoever they're going to use, I mean, I think with their case, I can't remember how I got called into it. There was a drummer friend of mine who's awesome was doing it, and then he probably got busy doing something else, and then I came in, and then I just started doing it from there, and and then now I can't do some show. It's all just like all of us drummers band together and do stuff together, and it's really fun.
Do you so how immaculate is your schedule, your agenda? Like, do you use hard cut? Do you use a hard copy like journal, or do you prefer the iCalendar?
The what?
The your iCalendar.
iCalendar, yes, I do. But you know what really messed me up, man? When I was last year, I did a tour in Israel and England, and I hadn't programmed my because I've always used I'd for a long time been sort of like I'm old school about it. I had a day book, like I like that, But then I just was like, this is stupid. I'm gonna go in the iCalendar. I'm always going, I don't have my day book with me. It's ridiculous, but I always have my phone with me, right?
Yeah.
So when people are asking me about dates, so. Yeah, I'm in Israel booking stuff, like, getting emails over there and like, oh, can you do this day? I'm like, cool, I'm free that day. And I didn't realize the whole iCal, like you can set, if you don't set your...
sync with the
sync with the timing, or sorry, it moves with the timing of where you are.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
So everything, like if I had a gig on Saturday, it got moved to the next day.
Oh shit!
So I was like, I think luckily I didn't mess anything up, but I started to figure, like I started remembering dates, being like, that's weird. I thought it was the day before. I'm like, what the hell is going on? It was so scary, man. So now I find that after that tour, I figured out how. And stupid me, right? I've traveled so much and I should have known, but I don't know. I think because I never used that iCal before, right?
Right.
So, yeah. So anyway, how immaculate is it? Yeah, it's iCal, and I'm pretty good with it. I'm pretty. That's pretty much the work side of what I do is scheduling and dealing with that. That's the headache of it all.
So how much of your time when you're well, I mean, I kind of know how touring goes, but like because you're working when you're touring, but the majority of it you're not. Really, like in your case, I don't know, maybe I don't know how often you get to do something like flying around and stuff, like for tours, but like if you get that, I mean, there's the obvious, like the van or your Sprinter or whatever,
right.
But also, like flying, it's like, okay, I gotta wait in the lounge for 2 hours.
Yeah, no,
and, I gotta wait in the hotel room. I mean, I remember you telling me about. Do you can still consider this a big moment for you, like the time you went and played with Eva Avila,
right? The Canadian Idol,
and
yeah, I mean,
I just remember you were like, I just loved the fact that I was on a plane, I got to have a hotel room, I was practicing on my practice pad at the hotel room.
Yeah,
was that kind of like a big kind of introduction to?
Yeah, that was
that.
Totally. Well, I mean, up to that point, I just toured in a van. It's like, let's drive forever to go. And that was a big moment for me because that was like the first major label act I had. That was the first flight I think I got on to play a show.
Right. I think the flight was the big thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you even went down to romanticizing the like watching the plane take off with like your drumsticks in your hand or something.
Man, probably. It was a long time ago. I've always loved flying. It's always been an exciting thing for me. Which is weird because when I was like 2 years old, I had this horror story of like being on a plane, like my first flight, and these like air hostesses or what's the word you use?
Flight attendants?
Flight attendants, yeah. Like I was screaming and crying as a baby, so I guess they'd heard you're supposed to put cups over your ears, but they took it out of the dishwasher and they were like boiling hot. They didn't realize they put them over my head. I was like, just like freaking out. So I should hate the idea of flying, but I don't. But no, I mean, like how much time. I can never complain about this stuff because like it's one thing to be in a like I'm like sort of a hired gun, playing in the band, whatever. I see these man, like this last run I did with this radio tour. It's like I just have so much respect for these artists. They have the same schedule as we do. We all take the same flight, butt fuck early, getting up at 4 a.m. to go to the airport, and then they get to the hotel. Like I get to chill till sound check or whatever it is. Like it's not hard. Like people say, oh, touring's hard and you can't eat well and blah blah blah. But if you're in our boat, like you can always take care of that stuff. I find at least, But yeah, man, artists like they'll get straight to the hotel, have like 10 minutes, have to do whatever, go to the radio interview, and then like talk to people all day and have to be on, and then come back, and then they have a meet and greet, and they have to meet all the fans that like won tickets to see them or paid extra to come. Come early and meet them, and then they play the show, and they have to be. That's the important part. And then after the show, they're at the merch thing or signing people, meeting more people, and then they go to bed, and they have to wake. It's crazy, man. Like. So no, man, it's easy. Like, it's awesome. And, yeah, I mean, maybe every touring situation is different, but even in a van, I just find, if you're at a gas station, you just avoid, the chocolate bar and you get a banana and yeah, you just kind of enjoy. It's kind of a vortex, from being on tour.
Yeah,
but the difference is like, I mean, a lot of times you're doing them solo in Europe and stuff, and you're getting yourself there, and it's a lot more work. Like I get to just like be driven, play. It's a different kind of thing.
Yeah, that would be cool. I mean, there is a point that there are like vast swaths of time where you have no responsibility beyond sitting.
Yeah,
and that applies to any touring situation. That's a lot of it. I mean, I guess just like what I'm getting, maybe I'm connecting this to what you said earlier about being a workaholic. Would you describe yourself as that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I would. I mean, only because I know when I'm not, it's hard. It's like any kind of.
It's hard to shut off.
Yeah, it's hard to be like, I'm gonna, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like, sweet, I don't have to do this today, because like I love what I do. Like, I love it, and I love. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's playing what most people would consider it like a really shitty gig, I'm into it. Like if it's right and everything like that. So, I just love like. Playing, like I love the whole process of getting to a gig and playing the show and talking to people and meeting people and going to the next thing and booking it. It's a constant, which is not good. I'm trying to work on that. Like, being good at slowing down, be good at taking time off, being good at that.
Well, I mean, I think it's. Would you describe yourself as an optimist as well?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I get down like anybody does. I get down a lot, of course.
But I mean, on the average.
Yeah. Yes, I would say I do. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's good. I mean, if there isn't that much guilt going on, then I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. The idea that, you just like what you do, so you want to do it more. Mm-hmm. The way you describe it there, I think. That's a lot better than just, busy work, let's say. I don't know. I think that a lot of people fall into, myself included, trying to create work for oneself that's,
it's not
well, it's just intended to fill space. It's not really
true
part of
that. For me, that's cleaning. Like I find if I'm kind of like, deep down I know there's nothing to be done or no work to be done or whatever, and I don't feel like practicing whatever it is, I'll just start cleaning, and like it's just a way to busy myself, and it's productive. I mean, the thing gets clean, like cleaning the house, cleaning the whatever, like but I know what you mean, and that's the thing. You should be able to just sit down and
absolutely
just, work on something or that needs to be done, or just not do it and just read a book or whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's
watch
like
TV or
I've just been interested in the like seeing reading reading's pretty much in everybody's good books, so to speak. Like it's like, oh good, you're reading, that's better that than watching the Kardashians or something, right? Like but even still, reading is an activity, so it's like, so I'm interested, and I don't do this very often, but like it's like, fuck, it's like every moment of the day is occupied with some form of activity. So then it's like, what if you had like no activity? So it's basically like be like either sleep or meditation, more or less. Where you don't do anything. And that shit can be like kind of frightening too.
Very frightening.
Like,
well, it's just uncomfortable if you're not. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I find that interesting. It's like people are like, man, I can't wait to not have to do this anymore. You know, after this week, I'll be free and clear, and I can go home and occupy myself with other little things.
Right.
You know, like, or I can take it easy, but really that just means I'm gonna like, whatever, clean the house a whole bunch or read 10 books.
Right.
Or some shit like that.
Carl Pilkington, I love him. He says like, he's in South Africa, and there's one Idiot Abroad show. He's in South Africa. He's like, this guy, you know, he stays at this rich guy's house, and he's worked his ass off so he can just sit on his ass. And he's like, but then and then Carl's like, but I have a cousin on welfare. They just sit on their ass, and you know, like, so it's like we all just want to sit on our ass, you know? Like that. We just work hard to sit on our ass, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else was I gonna ask you? It's a nice day, isn't it?
This is the edit part.
Nah, dude, people just gotta suffer through this part. Me drinking some lemon water.
It's good though, right?
I think that I think given the right circumstance, people will want to consume. I feel like the internet has shown that there's no end to what people will
it's crazy.
Want.
It's crazy, yeah.
You know.
And how many of these podcasts, you know what I mean? Like how many people.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah. And the live feed thing too is crazy. Like the Facebook. You know,
I don't understand like why that's like a new, apparently that's like kind of the future of marketing is live streaming versus just like posting a fucking video. You gotta like post I don't understand why. I was at a voiceover, I was doing a voiceover session, and there was another woman who was just finishing up hers before I went on. And she was a quote unquote influencer. Right. Which is, do you know that term?
Not in this context.
Well, in marketing, it's just like an influencer is someone who like think like an Instagram account that has a bunch of followers. So you you know, you're like, I've been sponsored by this protein powder, and you're influencing people to buy it. So anyway, she's like an well, she doesn't like to be called an influencer. Anyway, basically like the apparently she was saying companies prefer to or want influencers to do live streams. Even the live streams, it's not about the people viewing it at that moment. It's the fact you can save a live stream for like on Instagram, you can save it for 24 hours. On Facebook, I think it's indefinite.
Yeah.
So I watched a couple of these.
Of hers?
Not of hers, but of some other people. So there's one of, like, there was a Starbucks one. You'd like this one. Carl Schulz is in it.
Oh.
You like Carl Schulz,
Howard
right?
Schulz?
Howard Schulz, sure.
The CEO of...
The guy who started the company.
Yeah, Howard, yeah.
Carl?
I don't know. That's not like him. It's just interesting.
You read his biography, right?
Yeah, I did, yeah. Probably did what I normally do is read like 3/4 of it and then
you don't finish it?
I never finish books. It's bad, man.
Really?
I did. I recently started to be like make an effort.
You don't know if he dies at the end though.
Yeah, or if he ever made money.
Spoiler alert. Yeah, exactly. What happens to Carl?
Yeah,
or
did he
I mean,
ever make his dreams come true?
So it's like
Carl,
good old Carl.
His brother, his poor brother, his really poor brother.
Did not sell that well. Was not on the New York Times bestseller list.
No,
the
his tea never took off.
Is Carl Schulz Peanuts?
Schulz. Yeah, Schulz is definitely Peanuts. I don't know if it's first name. Probably.
Google it. Let me look this up. Question. It's okay. They do this on the Joe Rogan podcast too. Look it up. If it was like, if we were really pro, I'd have like a bunch of computers that we could all look at this while I look it up. Let's see. Carl Schulz.
Everybody listening is like, yep, we know.
No, he's an Australian-Hungarian film director.
Wow. Oh.
Was it Carl with a K?
Just here, let me get my phone. Google like Peanuts creator.
Oh yeah, you can do that too. Carl. Nope.
It is Schulz.
It is Schulz, but it's not Carl.
Charles Schulz.
Charles. Okay,
Charles
that
M.
we can
M.
safely
Schulz.
say that's what I was getting at.
Yeah. Charles Schulz.
So,
But yeah, sorry.
anyway, so the live stream it's like a half-hour long thing, and it's, hi, I'm Barbara, I'm the regional sales manager at blah, blah, blah. We're here at Starbucks Day, or it wasn't Starbucks Day, it was some, like, I think it was just like a rock the vote kind of thing, like they were trying to raise voter awareness, and
Right.
so she and someone else is there, and then they're just like, she and another sales manager or store manager are there, and they chat with a few people, and I don't know how they did this because I think you have to have like Wi-Fi. I don't know how you get Wi-Fi. They were outside, but anyway, so they're chatting with a few people, and then then we then they're like, well, make sure you stay tuned to the end, because first of all, we're going to see performances from people like Common performed on the stage, and then make sure to ask your questions to Common and what Schulz again? Howard?
Charles. Oh, yeah, Howard. The Peanuts guy might have been there, too. But,
No, I think
Howard,
he's dead, but Howard Schulz. So yeah, we can ask your questions to Howard. So it's like got this interactive component, which I guess is important.
Right.
Like real time. So it's like, it's like a half-hour long stream. There's Common comes out, performs a couple songs. So I guess that's maybe like the value added content of watching this, is you get to see this. It's almost like you're there. And then they walk over and after the show and meet Howard and Common, and they're like, so Jeremy 357 asks, why is voting important to you, or something like that. So I guess it's the interactive component that's really why live streaming is more valuable, or is considered to be the new thing.
Right. People love it. Like anytime I'm like, sometimes like I'll be in a rehearsal with an artist and they're live streaming the rehearsal or like live streaming like a run through, and people just, people are writing on it like crazy, like commenting and this and that, and it's a very, people feel involved, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder, because I feel like, don't you feel like you were brought up in an era of like the inaccessible Rockstar?
Yeah,
like
definitely.
I think I was.
Of course, yeah. Of course.
I think because I didn't have punk rock in my life, like DIY, I should say more specifically, in my life as a younger person, I didn't really know of any alternative. Like it's like, oh, there are guys like underneath that, in that level of fame and fortune that also do something, and probably is far more likely what you'll be doing. Right. I didn't know about that at the time, so it was like
before you were like a Downtown Brown fan.
Downtown Brown was special because they were like my friend's my friend's cousin's
Chuck, right?
friend, not Chuck. Chuck wasn't involved in it.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
My friend Andy's cousin's friend played bass, and it's like he was a good bass player, but like because we had this, like, he's a few years older, and we had this mythology about him. We're like, dude, I heard he has AIDS. Like
any kind of rumor.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, it's like he was like this mythical creature. Like he came on, and like during sound check the first time we saw them, he does this like crazy slap thing. Sounds like Les Claypool, dude. So it was like, in that case, it was kind of like, even before we saw them, we'd heard recordings, and we're just, it's like your older brother's friend's band or something.
No, you look up to them,
dude, they're crazy, they're so good.
Dude, I know. I played in a lot of metal bands in high school, and some of the older, like the singer's older brother had like a black metal band. We thought he was the coolest. Same thing. But are they still a band, Downtown Brown?
I actually was wondering that the other day. I don't know.
That was a long time ago. That was like 2000.
They definitely were a band as of, say, like 3 or 4 years ago. I think that was the last time I checked. They even played Toronto.
Really?
Like,
Are they from
5 years
Detroit?
ago. They're from, like around Detroit,
Okay.
yeah. They were an impressive example of just keeping on going, and it was one dude, and it was one dude who kind of ran the whole thing, and he would send out these long-winded newsletters that I was probably one of 2 people that actually read all the way through. So I was like, this dude is so cool.
Right. He influenced you, and that's awesome.
Yeah, no, absolutely he did.
The mailing list.
The mailing list, yeah. Well, the mailing list is considered...
Still proper. Yeah, I don't know if you or somebody else was telling me that's still a big thing. When you
Marketers say it's like the number one thing.
It's crazy.
It's because it's like the only way that can, like, engagement with given social platforms varies. Like Facebook is probably going through a downturn right now, right? I would say because of all the stuff in the press. So people are like, oh, I only use Instagram now, which is also owned by Facebook. But like, so interest varies. Email is, I think, always going to be around. Right. Also, it's the only way that something can go directly into one's inbox. However, every time I talk about this, I realize there's all these qualifying factors because you can still have like a fucking spam filter or some shit that like makes your mailing list thing not go into people's, go into their whatever. So I don't know. Apparently it's the most surefire way to get into someone's mailbox. And you know that like you know what the average open rate is for mailing list emails for arts and entertainment according to MailChimp?
What?
I think it's 1.8%.
So why is that?
Or sorry, no, it's more than that.
But if all these
but
people
the
are
click-through rate is
for
like
it,
2%.
Okay, but then if you're signing up for it, I mean, you're going through that effort to get on someone's, but like, I want you to email me. That's saying I want you to email me.
Yeah.
Then they just.
Yeah, or they actively sometimes it's funny because sometimes it's funny because I'll send an initial email and then like the next email I send it's like this person is unsubscribed. It's like they were drunk or something. They woke up and we're like, oh my god, what did I do? Right. Like I very rarely unsubscribe. Only if something is annoying as fuck do I unsubscribe from like a.
If they email you too much. Or
yeah, but it's like. Yeah, I think the click through rate if you put a link into something like buy this thing 2%.
Wow,
it's crazy, right? Like on average.
Yeah.
So marketers are dealing in percentage points, single percentage points as being significant, and I guess like I have a kind of a fascination with marketers right now because there's so many people who say they're in marketing, and I'm always curious as to what the fuck they do. And I think a lot of it is looking at these analytics stats and shit like that,
right,
which I try to do, and I just can't understand how people can do it religiously.
It's amazing, man.
It's fucked. But anyway, that's that. You got any questions for me?
Well, I was asking you like how you got into doing this podcast stuff.
Well, it's really because again, I was listening to, I forget, you know what, initially it was because I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast, which is is that not like the most popular podcast? I think it is, yeah. I was looking at the top podcasts on iTunes, and like several of his episodes were in the top 10.
I think so, yeah.
So what I liked and what I wanted to look at or listen to with that was...
What else was in the top 10? I'm curious.
I forget.
What do people listen to?
What I was curious about with his podcast was listening to the right-wing guys that he occasionally gets on.
Right. The craziest one I heard, did you ever hear the Tom DeLonge one, the Blink-182 one? Jesus,
oh yeah, because he believes in aliens, right?
He's so out there. At one point, like you can hear Joe Rogan being like, just covering the microphone and be like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like you got to listen to it. It's crazy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this is a guy with like, I don't know, probably too much money, and like, I mean, he knows what he's talking about. That's the weird thing. Was like he'll say stuff and then Joe will Google it and he's like, "Yep, checks out." But like but he's just so down this psychopath of like, you know, conspiracy theory stuff, and then the classic thing is he'll say something and Joe will ask a question. He's like, "I can't tell you. secret, you know, it's top secret. It's like, well, how do you know where to?
How do you you don't have security clearance? How do you know?
Well,
this?
he claims he does, and he claims it's crazy. He claims that he's like meeting with the, you know, and he'll name these guys, and then Joe will check it out, and then it'll check out like, yeah, that guy does work there, blah blah blah. You know, he'll name.
But
all
the question
guys.
is, does Tom DeLonge actually know them? Right? Is that the question?
I think he
or
does.
Is it?
It was a while ago. I listened to it. Like, I don't know. You got to check it out.
Yeah.
It's just really, really out there. The guy's lost his mind, man.
I mean, that's
maybe he always had.
I think, yeah, that's one of the other things of the accessibility that we have to artists now is like you realize it's like, whoa, Billy Corgan's like a fucking weirdo and kind of an asshole.
Oh, really?
Like,
I heard he's really, really, really clever. Like I heard Billy Corgan's. What is it? Oh, he's really into wrestling. Did you know that? Billy
yeah,
Corgan?
he has his own wrestling league, or he did.
He's a promoter or a producer or something like that.
Yeah,
wrestling. He has his own company.
I like that. That's the first thing you thought to mention. He's really clever. He's got his own wrestling.
Like that whole band. Like I did actually listen to a podcast with Jimmy Chamberlain, with the drummer of Smashing Pumpkins.
Right.
And that guy, he's like in finance or whatever. He's got a bunch of companies, and he's a brilliant dude. Like a brilliant dude.
So he's just like good at applying himself to everything, right? Because he's a pretty noteworthy drummer.
Oh, he's an amazing drummer, and he's I mean, just he's so in the know with it. He's just such a smart guy, you know.
Is he the one that was addicted to heroin?
Yeah, I saw him. It was kind of crazy. I saw him when he like his comeback tour or whatever, in South Africa in 2000. I want to say, it wasn't Darcy. It was somebody else. I don't maybe it was like Melissa Aftamura or something.
Oh yeah, I think you're right. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if it was her that. I don't know. But anyway, Jimmy Chamberlain, it was a horrible gig. Like they played in this really weird part in Cape Town, like Century City, and it was like in a tent with dust everywhere, and like sound was bad. I saw Jimmy Chamberlain there. And anyway, digressing. But yeah, and anyway, he had like same with Billy Corgan. Like they're just interesting people, you know. They have all these outside interests and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I never heard is he a dick?
I don't know. It's just what I saw from his a couple of interviews. He was a talking head in various interviews, music industry interviews that I saw.
Oh, okay.
And I just recall, and I read an article. Fuck, calling me out on this shit now. Maybe I'm incorrect and I need to revisit it. But it sure as hell seemed like
could be.
Yeah, he was an angry old man. Yeah, and I think, you know what, man? No, let's be honest. It's like I probably read a fucking Vice article because I read a lot of those.
Right.
Facebook has like totally targeted me successfully with Vice articles, and it's amazing how many of those are like, this plays right into what I like, and they're like, okay, we'll show you more.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's dangerous.
It's dangerous because it's like, you know, it's turned me against Billy Corgan, which is really what Facebook is out to do. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was some Vice article that was like, you know, it was like more like the more sensational points I remember, like Billy Corgan had a relationship with Tila's Tequila. Remember Tila's Tequila from MySpace?
No. No, actually.
She had, I forget the name of her show that was spawned from that. She was like the top person in MySpace. She was this like mixed, like, I don't know if she's Filipino or Asian or something. Anyway, Billy Corgan did a thing with her, which was weird.
Wow.
And there's like this, he owns a cafe in Chicago somewhere, and there's this video of him playing an interpretation of this, like, of Hermann Hesse's book, Thus Spake Zarathustra, on like this like huge synth for like 8 hours.
Wow.
And there's actually a commercial of him it was for a furniture company. I don't know if it's his furniture company. But anyway, it involves him like getting into the ring with some of his wrestlers, and then like someone like hits someone over the head with a chair from such and such furniture company. Right. It's fucking ridiculous.
I have a friend who's like scarily into wrestling, and
it's weird when you're an adult.
I know. Yeah, believe me. But yeah, he told me all about this. The Billy Corgan being owning some companies, whatever he does in the wrestling.
I always have a difficult time talking to people, like adult males who are into wrestling and not thinking of them as children. Mm-hmm. You know, and I know a lot of people that are really into it.
Do you? I just know the one guy.
Really? I know several.
I know people into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu now and stuff, but that's like, I mean, that's a sport. I mean, not that wrestling's not a sport. It kind of is, but I don't know. I don't know much about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but I know it's... well, a lot of the UFC guys apparently now are... My friend was telling me, was like, now they're getting trained, you know what I mean? Or something. There's some kind of correlation between the two now. They're trying
between BJJ, as it's called, and...
UFC stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, apparently, if you believe our friend Chad Davis,
yes,
BJJ is like
the ultimate one. Yeah, of course. Yeah, and that's the thing is he'll play shows with this other friend of mine who's into wrestling, and we'll try to like, what the hell are you doing, man? Like, blah 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 blah. Like, dude, you got the body for it. You got to do BJJ. And,
you got the body for it, man.
Yeah, and he's not like, he doesn't wrestle himself. He just loves this. He has no interest in actually doing it. You know, he just loves it or whatever. But yeah.
Chad, yeah, Chad was like, it was weird. I don't know how he got into.
Apparently from a podcast. That's what
really?
he told, or somebody told me, or something, or he told me.
It was just because he was so like, he was like, you know, because if somebody's gonna assault you, how are you gonna defend yourself?
Yeah.
I don't know where he got. I mean, I think he mentioned some recollection when he was younger of some group of guys who like beat up his friends or something.
That can't be his primary motivation.
Yeah, no, it was just something, and it just sounded strange coming from him.
No, I think it was like he was listening to a podcast of somebody he respects, some politician or somebody who has, you know, same political views as him. Okay. And they were talking about, it's just a totally side thing. They were talking about BJJ, and then he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna try this out because I like this guy," you know, something like that. But no, it can't be like. I mean, when was the last time you got your ass kicked? You know.
I mean, if somebody was intent on kicking my ass, they would probably succeed because I've never been in a proper fight in my life.
Right.
You know, you know, I don't feel so bad about that anymore. I think the shifting views of masculinity and its definitions, I no longer feel like I have to be a fighter.
Totally,
which is nice, you know?
Of course.
It's someone like Lucas, who I also interviewed for this podcast.
Oh, cool.
He's a self-described pacifist, and I often wonder how that... First of all, why he even had an opinion on that, where he got that from, because I never thought about it enough to be like, if someone were to assault me, I would...
Well, maybe he meant his political worldviews. Like,
I think he meant as like a physical fighting thing. I think so. Maybe if he happens to listen to this, he can clarify that.
Right.
I thought it was like a pacifist. It's like someone's like, "I'm gonna kick your ass," and you're like, "Okay." Like,
maybe, yeah. Okay. See you later. Yeah. That's me. Then I'm a pacifist. Then.
No, pacifist would be like, yeah, you'd maybe try to run away, but if like he was pounding on you, you'd just be like, ow, 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 ow.
Oh, like you just wouldn't fight back. You wouldn't do anything back.
Yeah, I'm probably not getting that right. That just I don't get why anyone would have that belief.
You wouldn't run away either. You would just like take it all.
It's like you got to accept it.
Come on, yeah. Come on, buddy.
You got to accept it and not run away from it and just get beat up.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's not hard to like not get beat up. But then again, there's the odd time, man.
A friend of mine was walking on Bloor the other day, and just this guy clocked him in the face for no reason. Just like he was just walking down the street, and some other guy was walking down the street and just punched the shit out of him and kept walking. Isn't that unbelievable?
And then what did your friend do?
He didn't know what happened. Like he said like it happened so quick that nobody really stopped to, you know, it just happened. And then he really like unlocked his jaw, his mouth was bleeding. And then by the time he figured out what was happening, the guy was long gone, you know? Isn't that bizarre?
That might send me off into like a weird frame of mind.
I know.
After that.
Horrible. No, he was super, the guy's such a, he's a good drummer, and he works at the Root Down, which is like a place where like a lot of artists signed to Universal rehearse.
Okay.
And he sort of runs the place. He's one of the people that runs the place. And he's like the sweetest guy. And he was just like, I don't know, just like a thing that happened one day, and he was kind of like laughing about it. And said it really messed him up, but you know, that day. But I don't think it's changed his view on anything. I mean, people are fucked, you know.
I guess I don't know. I would kind of like I wouldn't think it would fuck with me, but just like
Oh yeah,
that just seems like
That's such a one.
well, it just seems like it's like what kind of world do we live in where someone punches you in the face? I just feel like that might like in a subconscious way kind of make me be like, but why?
Right.
But why? You know, when like.
But I think once you put logic into it, it's like there is no logic. It's just some crazy person, you know. And it's like that's such a freak thing, and blah blah blah, you know.
Yeah, I've just never heard of that before.
Yeah, but if he had done BJJ, he would have been able to.
He would have been able to defend. Ha! Like,
yeah, exactly.
Stop that fist right before it came.
Right. Or if he was a wrestler, he'd be able to like just Superman out
do
his shirt and
do a serious grapple. Yeah, grapple with that dude for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You see that video of Maynard from Tool grappling that person like years ago?
Yeah, it was an Instagram thing.
It may have been on Instagram.
I saw it on like Pussifer's account because I just happened to follow them.
He just like somebody came on stage and
no. This was like him working out in a gym or something. No, what happened?
Oh, just someone came on stage and it was like he was just getting all up in Maynard's area and he just like grappled onto this dude and like forced him to to the floor, and he finished like the entire song singing while
holding
one
him down.
hand while he's like holding him down.
Crazy. No, my favorite sort of rock star thing like that is Nirvana. Like they're playing some small club, and have you ever seen that when Kurt when Kurt crowd surfs? I forget if he crowd surfs, and then somebody's like pushing him, and then he just starts smashing the dude with his guitar.
Whoa!
And then Dave Grohl just the whole band stops, and Dave Grohl like runs out from the drums. You know, it's a cool video. Yeah.
So wait, does Dave Grohl run up from the drums to like further?
No, he runs out to do something, but then by that point, people have grabbed him away, and everybody's just like, "What the hell happened?" Like the band stops, and they're playing. I want to say it was like when Nevermind, was just about to come out, so they're still playing small clubs and stuff. But yeah, it's cool. Like Kurt just lost him. Well, this guy was like obviously doing something to him, and Kurt was like kind of crowd surfing with his guitar playing.
Oh,
it's
okay.
A cool video.
Yeah, those are sick, man.
Yeah.
Hey, with one thing I was gonna ask you was, like a lot of the artists you play with are in the world of country or new country.
New country pop, yeah.
Or
just straight pop.
One thing, okay, so maybe this isn't the case as much as I thought, but one thing was like, did you reach a point where you were surprised at how the landscape of the people you play with turned out to be those kind of genres? Or I'm specifically thinking about country stuff because...
Well, it's not, I mean, like, now, this country's so popular, it's just, everybody listens to, you know what I mean? Like, now when I started, I definitely didn't, it was a world that I didn't know too much about, and I imagine, like, what the hell is this going to be, like, a bunch of old people, like, I had no idea, like, thinking, like, Hank Williams or something like that.
Right.
I mean, I knew more about country than just that, but yeah, I like, at that time, the big thing for me was, like, playing Edgefest. And festivals like that, like rock festivals. And then when I played, like I think I played the first year at Boots and Hearts Festival, which is one of the biggest festivals in North America for country. And yeah, it was insane, man. It was like Edgefest times 3 because it was like bigger than Edgefest and 3 days of it, Right. And it's changed so much since then. But even then, it was like just a bunch of young people and like just having a great time and partying. They party so hard and yeah. So the landscape surprised me. It was like, oh, okay, this is. At first, it was like a lot of people from smaller towns, or not as much. Now, it's city people. Everybody goes to country shows,
Right.
Yeah.
So
I don't know too much about it in terms of that because, like I'm kind of in and out of them playing them, and I'm not, but yeah, I don't know too much about how it transitioned over.
Transitioned over from
like
being like a specific genre to just kind of being
completely mainstream. Yeah. I mean, also, country is pretty much pop now. Guys like Sam Hunt and stuff. It's like it's pop music. So that just it's much more appealing than like it's not as of a niche thing, but that just filters into who comes to shows and blah 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 and like, you know what I mean. This artist that I play for the Rec Laws, like they're very poppy. So
but
like they have
still,
one song that could be crossed over 100%.
But they still have there are still elements of
the topics they sing about and stuff. That's kind of what keeps it country is the topics they sing about, and in some cases, like guys from the South or guys from Nashville, whatever, that have that a little bit of Southern accent, and so it's like pop music with a Southern accent.
So do you find that with the country people, there's a push to make it more inclusive? Like, I just think of that. Like, I remember listening to that Brantley Gilbert song, "Country Must Be Countrywide," and I don't know if you know it.
I don't, but I know Bradley Gilbert.
First of all, it sounded like Nickelback to me. It was like
Yeah.
this kind of like sort of like heavy metal guitar sound, but with country type melodies, and there's probably a fucking banjo in there somewhere.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. Yeah,
just like somewhere in the corner.
Right.
But like,
no, a lot of them are rock. Like when I opened for Eric Church,
yeah, you told me
years
this.
ago. I think I told you that like they were sound checking Rain and Blood,
Right?
Slayer. It was crazy.
Absolutely,
it was so good.
So that's interesting. But I guess what I mean with the inclusivity was there was the part that stuck out for me in the music video, which I watched, was like it's like this black dude, listening to country on his headphones while he's flipping burgers in the back.
Right.
It's like if they're gonna
cool.
be
like
inclusive with country, what do you do with people who are like not white or from the South? How do you make it appeal? I mean, shit, like they're in Alberta, it's like a different, it's not the South at all.
Right.
Like, how does it? Is it?
That's definitely a thing. You see very few people of color at these shows. That's
Okay.
definitely a thing. That hasn't really. Yeah, I don't know. That just.
I just mean like you haven't heard. I just feel like between and my knowledge is very very basic of all this stuff. Like there was a Brad
So is
Paisley
mine, really.
came up with a song called "Accidental Racist"
Okay.
3-4 years ago, 5 years ago. It's him and LL Cool J.
Right. See that? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it worked. But what he was getting at.
Applaud him for trying. Man.
Yeah, it's
If it didn't work, I don't know.
Well, it was. The whole premise of the song is, he's sorry to the barista at Starbucks that he went to because he realized he was wearing a Lynyrd Skynyrd shirt, which probably meant he had a Confederate flag on it. And he just was like, it was just kind of him being like, "Hey man, real sorry. I just like Lynyrd Skynyrd. I didn't think about that." And then the next verse is LL Cool J's rap verse. I guess he's supposed to be the barista at Starbucks.
Oh, wow.
They're just trying to understand each other. And
Is it super cheesy?
not even
I gotta
cheesy, like
hear this
weird,
after.
bro. Like, yeah, we should listen to it for sure.
Yeah. I like Brad Paisley. He's amazing. But
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he's a great musician and shit. And like
he's one of the few I haven't seen live actually, or haven't played shows with.
the chorus of the song has something involving like 150 years still we haven't figured this, like talking about like referencing like the Civil War.
Right.
It's like some heavy shit to put into a country song. Yeah, so I just mean like I wonder if country music kind of has difficulty. I mean, there are people
Well,
like there's a Darius Rucker. There's another fellow in like back
it's all
in the
about
60s. Ray
I mean,
Charles.
yeah, it definitely has like people. I guess what I've heard, people from the South. I mean, I don't find this with Nashville when I go down to Nashville a lot because like it's pretty pretty progressive city now.
Right.
Even though it is still traditional, like in some senses.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you make when you do something a little bit that's pushing the envelope, it's like a big thing. Like this girl, you know who Maren Morris is?
No.
She has a song called My Church, and basically it's about, sounds my church, right? What's it about? And it's about music being her church.
Right.
Music's her religion kind of thing. I mean, I haven't delved too deeply into the lyrics, but that's a big thing. That's like, I think a lot of people that that moved a lot of people, especially from the city. Like, okay, cool. Like this isn't, it's not from a religious background or whatever.
Right.
I don't know anything about her, but that, I like that. I was like, oh, this is cool.
So the fact that she was sort of implicitly saying that you don't have to go to church to appreciate this.
Yeah, or just no, not like that hard, but just.
But what's weird about that message? What's unusual about that message?
I don't know. Maybe just like just the fact that it's not about. It's not a lot of songs are like take me to the church or whatever. It's like holy, like they come from a kind of there's a little bit of a Christian background. This song doesn't seem to be at all. It's just saying music is my religion.
But how do people?
Maybe that's not so. Maybe I'm
How does that work with someone like Keith Urban, for example?
Right.
Like I listen to a lot of rap music.
Well, he doesn't come from that background. I don't know, man.
Well, I know this is what I'm getting at is like so rap and street cred.
Right.
The country cred of being like, does Keith Urban have to be like, oh, I'm from the outback, like I'm from the country of Australia,
right?
Like, is there a certain degree of legitimacy, like where you have to put on an accent a little bit?
I don't think he did at all. I think
he doesn't. I don't know.
everybody knows he's from Australia, and he's very very sounds like he's from Australia, and he's very that's really cool, you know. That's kind of a unique thing, I think, in the country world that he did that, you know. I'm not quite sure. Like, I don't want to put my foot in my mouth because I really don't know stuff about this that much, but there's sort of like, there is a bit of a template in the country thing. There's a bit of a formula.
Right.
And anybody who stares away from that, I always just like applaud them. I just think that's cool. In my own little world, I'm just like, that's sweet, you know, like that's something different. And that's something that'll put, anyway, it just gets back to like pushing the envelope and opening the genre up to a lot of people, you know? But it's not like, I'm not just in that, you know what I mean, in that scene. So it's not like that's like my scene where I've always been in.
It's a bit more unique to you than other people who I know.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. For me personally, you're one of the people I know who has a glimpse into that world, and made me be aware. It's like, oh, this stuff's really popular, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's it. Yeah. Yeah, and it's becoming really, really popular. But it's still, I mean, there's, you know, it's just a lot of these people just listen to country music, you know, and new country and old country, and I love it. I love old country as well. Like, I'll listen to old country probably a lot more than I listen to new country, but yeah, it's just such a healthy scene. This is such a cool. There's like, you know, there's a huge following for it right now, and yeah. Anyway, back to what you said. I just think the more people do stuff like that, throw little curveballs, and then it gets accepted, is the more it'll open up to everybody. You know, I don't know though. Like it's just the fact that pop has come so huge into it in the last few years. And like, you know, production, like Drake style production, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah, well, again, like when I dipped in and listened to part of "Break Up in a Small Town,"
right?
That to me, I was like, okay, this is like a Drake verse.
Yeah, it is,
with like a very typical like country chorus,
and just weird shit. Like, he didn't have a bass player for a while. You know, there's no drums. It's all programmed drums, like, which now is very common. But I think maybe when was it that time? But yeah, no, just that's the trend of it, you know. And it's like anything, it'll come in waves and whatever, but yeah. Right.
But I mean, as with it's funny how I can draw pretty similar parallels between country music and hip-hop in different ways.
Right. Well, you know what I like about it is, I've always said this to people, is like, it's a scene, you know, and it's like when I was in the punk scene, I played a lot in the punk scene. It's like everybody's banding together for something, you know. Mm-hmm. Everybody it's a lifestyle, right? Like, you know, it's like whatever it is in the punk thing, like, you know, screw my mom, screw my dad, like, we're here, you know, whatever it is, you know.
Yeah.
Everybody's there kind of for like, there's an overarching mood that isn't just the music, you know, and pop doesn't have that as much. Pop is, you go see a Beyonce show, it's like, I love Beyonce, cool. Maybe it does, but no, for her that's maybe a bad example. But whoever, like,
well, Beyonce's lifestyle is like stops at Beyonce, I sort of think.
Maybe, for
their fans, for like the
or anybody like Ed Sheeran, you just go like, oh, I love Ed Sheeran, we're gonna go see some stuff, you know, it's great, cool. But with country, it's like, you know, whatever it is, like as lame, like, or as simplistic as it's like, I drive my truck and I, you know, live on a farm and I kick up the dust and I drink beer, you know, it's like it's like a lifestyle. You're celebrating a lifestyle. You're celebrating something, and I like that, even though it has nothing to do with what I'm.
Well, that's what I'm interested in, and I think you can totally adapt it to your own lifestyle, because like, you know, geez, I like hip hop a lot. Like, most of the messages in those songs, I have like nothing to relate to.
No, it's interesting. It's cool. It's like, it's the same thing with punk. Like, I never, like, you know, I wasn't like a crusty punk street kid, but I loved being a part of that scene. I loved being a part of that mood and like that freedom, and just like, it was cool. And it's the same thing now. It's a little bit more like contained, I think, in the country thing, but
you mean as a result of it becoming more accessible, or like more to a wide mainstream audience?
Well, and also just like, I don't know what I mean by contained. Well, it's just not as,
like, I feel like there's probably a lot
of more like boxy. It's like, oh, this is what we do and this is what we do, you know what I mean? Like,
there's probably a lot of older people saying that it's gotten, you know, it's getting too diluted. Like,
well, that's like, you know, that happened in the punk thing too, man. Like, you know what I mean? It became pop punk, and like, that's just the growth of any kind of genre, you know?
True.
And I dig it all. Like, and it'll, you know, this guy, like this Chris Stapleton guy, is making big waves now, because he's just going up there and singing and being organic, and you know, he did a cover of George Jones' Tennessee Whiskey and blah blah blah. I don't really dig that cover, but a lot of people do. But yeah, it's like anything.
Do you think that in pop music, like straight pop, not pop country, but pop music, do you think that it's kind of reliant upon the artist, a particular artist, as being at the center of the solar system, so to speak, less so than it is about a lifestyle? Because if people are going to be super into an Ed Sheeran, or they're going to drink the same tea as Ed Sheeran, like there isn't a lifestyle around the style of Ed Sheeran.
No, exactly. It's just different. It's like, oh, I want to have the Adam Levine cologne or whatever it is, like, or whatever, or like it's like more like Us Weekly, whatever, People magazine stuff. It's just more. It's a different like market, right?
Yeah,
it's a different like pop, and that's what I mean is when you're going to see a show of that, you're not. It's just not. Yeah, I don't know. You're just there to see the music and there to see the guy. It's not as much of a...
Well, it just seems like that's almost, as an artist, you're almost, if it was just that, you'd be kind of shooting yourself in the foot, because it's like you're missing out on, when you described the country mythos to me.
Right.
But that can encompass a person's entire life, whereas the Ed Sheeran thing stops it when I, stop when I'm not listening to a song on the radio or when the show's over.
Exactly. And that's why I find it so much more interesting. And even if I'm not, like, that's personally why I find it so much more interesting. And even if I'm not part of that scene per se, like, I loved, man, a few years ago I did this, the Bollywood Awards. And
I was there.
Oh, yeah. Holy shit. I forgot
you've done that more than once.
I've done that more than once, but the year that, I don't know if you were there, the year that I played for, like, the Indian Idol winner, or one of the, like,
okay, I don't
Indian
think
Idol,
so.
Idol, like pop
yes.
idols or
yeah,
American Idol. It was like the Indian Idol guy. And we played for him. People fucking loved him. And it was crazy because, like, it was like, God, it was 10,000, maybe more, like, just Indian people losing their shit, And I have nothing to do with that scene, and I know nothing about it, but I was so into it. It was amazing. The energy was so cool. And, I'm like playing, like, kit with, like, tablas on a sample pad and, like, merging it, like, doll and stuff like that. And, like, it was such a learning thing. And it was so hard because, like, the music, to play it is not hard, but to follow it and to be on, to be in the right section and the bass player I was playing with, a really good bass player, played for Johnny Reed for years, Nick Chanagorski, and we were laughing afterwards because, like, I just saw him, I looked over and he was just closing his eyes and counting like 1, 2, 3, 4, just a 4, but just trying to count how many, like, bars, because the verse, it'll be like, it'll be like a 9-bar verse, then an 11-bar chorus, and then a 12-bar verse, and it's really crazy. So, and it's just not we have nothing to relate it to, because, like, it's not music that, like, I do like Indian music, but I'm not listening to it every day, and I'm not familiar with it in the terms of, like, it feels right to me to, like, go to, the court, like, they just know, So anyway, that's the music side of it, but the culture side of it is that it was a huge festival, and there's all these people from this thing, and they're just coming out from, like, Brampton and Mississauga and blah blah blah, and it was amazing, man.
Right.
Yeah. So same thing. It's like, I mean, this is a bit more I can relate to it a bit more, but. I'm kind of like, as a person, I'm kind of just personally, I've never really fit into one thing, So that's why it's very much my personality to be to kind of like a fly on the wall and playing. I mean, I like that I'm playing music to these people and making them love it and loving it myself, but I'm not really part of it. I'm not the guy that, like, finishes the show and then, whatever, Boots and Hearts, and goes back to the campsite,
drives your pickup truck back to
but there's a lot of guys that do. I mean, especially there's a lot of guys who are, obviously you'd hope that they would, right? Like, I don't.
Someone's got to be living it. Yeah.
I mean, I feel bad. I'm like kind of like a phony, but it's not really my job in it. My job is to support.
Your job is to play the drums right for the music, which you do.
And it's not, and I don't feel like when I started it, I was a bit more worried because I'm like, I am such a phony in the scene. But now, like I said, it's just like so many, like, my half Filipino wife loves country, listens to country.
Exactly. So it's
she loves it more than I do, way more than I do, man.
Right. And a large part of that, I think, is because she, like, was in Guelph for so long, right? Like,
kind of. She wasn't into
it then. I thought she said
all.
that. No, you forget. I asked her the same sort of question.
Yeah, what was this artist I played from Newfoundland called Jason Benoit. I think that's who started. She liked a song of his, and she's just snowballed from there, And now she's telling, like, all my information about country I get from her. She's like, "Have you heard the new Keith Urban song? Have you heard the?" You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's all from her. She listens to it all the time.
Yeah.
But, we bonded over listening to. We met bonding over listening to punk rock music. So
right, exactly.
And then, of course, I'm from Africa, so I listen to a lot of African music. It's all over the place for me. But again, the music I gravitate towards the most tend to be, like, part of a a bigger scene, you know, part like some kind of movement, some kind of they're saying something, you know, they're whether it's, I'm down with it or not, they're supporting a lifestyle. And it's music for a lifestyle. And that, you know, Nirvana was like that too, man. Like, I mean, they were the mainstream of it, but like the whole grunge Seattle scene, it was cool.
Yeah, like because Nirvana was in that documentary, The Year Punk Broke.
Oh, is that on Netflix right now?
No,
I gotta see that.
It may be, but it was them, Sonic Youth, and I think some other people as well. I think it's from like '91.
I love it.
But I just find it interesting because like I don't think Nirvana would ever describe themselves as punk, but it's like it's interesting because punk as a thing, you know, it was in the public eye somewhat and since like the later 70s.
Right.
But it took probably about that long and that much evolution before Nirvana became this mainstream, you know, pop, more rock than pop, let's say, but with rock with pop sensibilities and a punk rock kind of backbone.
Yeah, amazing.
But it's like that's what it has to go through before. Like I found it interesting reading that book that both of us had read called what was it, The Business of Hip Hop. Did you actually read that?
I never read it.
You didn't fucking read that. That's right.
It's huge. It's
sitting on it, looks real nice on that bookshelf.
It does.
Okay, well never mind. But it's like the same. It's the same kind of thing. Like you think that hip hop was like once you know Rapper's Delight came out, hip hop was in the public. No, it was like people didn't think it was gonna last. It took years and years before it became something that like now is. You know, one of the most dominant forms of music out there. Yeah, so it's impressive in that way. But
yeah, I mean, like, and country music was folk music, really, you know, for the longest time.
Yeah, exactly. So it might have seemed to someone like me who, like, you know, had friends who listened to technical death metal bands or something. It's like it might have seemed like the mainstream. It might seem like the mainstream, but it's like I don't know what's the biggest definition of like the mainstream artist? Would it be Ed Sheeran? Would he be kind of like
right now? Yeah, for sure.
He'd be the guy. He's number one.
I think he is number one.
If you were to ask on average people on the street.
I think I read an article at the BBC how he's like the biggest artist. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I can't remember if it was statistics, but he's massive.
It's kind of impressive, really. He writes good. Dude. He writes good tunes. He's not like, I like Ed Sheeran. He's not like he's like an okay. He's like a good looking dude, but not like not gorgeous. Oh, he kind of looks like he'd be one of the hobbits in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what's awesome. I love that. You know. Yeah. And I you know, just crazy talented. Amazing. I mean, the money that guy must make. He just shows himself. It's insane.
Yeah, he doesn't have to share that money with anybody.
Well, I'm sure he does with lots.
Well, I'm sure he does with a lot, but he doesn't have to share it with like three other people on stage or anything. The
setup and everything. I've never seen. I gotta go see.
He does looping and shit too.
Looping and everything,
so that probably helps not have to have a second guitar player or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good money making plan right there.
Stand-up comedy money. You know, you play ACC.
That's true.
You and a mic. And maybe a backdrop.
Yeah, like how many people do you even need on your crew at that point?
I don't know how those guys.
It'd be great if they just had like they just use like the house sound guy. They're like, no, it's fine. I'm not even gonna take my friend on.
House, like the really grumpy house.
The guy from Lee's Palace or something.
I didn't want to say it.
He's like.
I didn't want to say, man. I love like so you know the art of grumpy. Like anybody listening out there, there's an amazing video if you YouTube.
Oh yeah. Grumpy. Oh man, that was so like unbelievably
Actually, that was filmed the place I'm going to see Jeremy Loops tonight.
Oh yeah.
And I know those guys, man. Like Ryan, the sound guy in that video.
Is he a comic?
He's a comic now, and he's really funny. But he was a drummer in a band called the Johnstones.
Oh,
who was in the scene that I played in.
I remember.
Bill Scarlett and all those and yeah, he was always kind of a goofy dude, like funny guy. But that I think, because I think you know, it's like anything. It takes time, and I heard some of his comedy. I was like, it's kind of funny, whatever. But this was just out of the park. He knocked this out of the park, and he based it, I think, on the guy at Lee's. I think he based it. I'm sure he did, because it's like that.
I don't know, man. The guy from Lee's is kind of like a template for a lot of sound guys. I've club sound guys I've worked with before.
Yeah, I don't think it's been a long time since I played Lee's Palace, but he anybody who hasn't listened, go just YouTube The Art of Grumpy. It's an amazing sort of stereotype of like a grumpy sound man, because it's a thing, you know. It can be like, I mean, I always appreciate, like, I still notice when a sound guy's really like, because it's one thing to be really grumpy, but the house sound guy, but you know, a lot of times they're just kind of like blunt and simple and, to the point.
Yeah.
But when they're really nice, I notice it. I'm like, wow, hey, how's it going? Thank you. Like really nice and really good at their job. And,
I remember one
it's
time.
obviously some kind of stereotype.
Yeah. I remember one time playing with you when we did one of those horseshoe nights with Dave.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, the sound guy was like,
he a dick?
hello. No, he was not. He was
really
the opposite. He was
right.
like, hi, my name's Brian. I'm your sound guy. Like,
Right.
handshake. Like,
Right.
it was so unusual. I mean, it must be different for you at, like, now, how does it work at festivals? Because Tim from Gear, guy
Tim
Mulaney, no, Tim Allard from Gear.
Oh, Tim Allard. Sorry.
Who were you thinking of?
Facebook.
You've met Tim from Gear,
I know
right?
Tim, of course.
So Tim from Gear
drummer,
Music,
plays a bunch of
his band played Boots and Hearts, but
Cool.
it was like like a 25-minute set, and that included like setup time.
Side stage thing, or maybe.
I don't know what it was, but it was basically like, pull your shit out, all right, go, go, go. Like, is it like that is it that fast that you have to do setups, or is it for you guys when you play there?
It totally depends on what I'm doing, It totally depends on what the gigs are. Yeah, I played Boots and Hearts side stage. I played it every year, I think. Maybe I missed 1 year, but yeah, I played the side stage. I've run over to the main stage. I've done some weekends. I've played with like 4 different artists on. No, it's never. I'm surprised he said that. It's never. It's a very Boots and Hearts specifically is a very well-run festival.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, like on the main stage, my kit will be set up on a drum riser, and then it'll be like a half an hour changeover, and then the tech guys will wheel out my drum riser. So it's all set up, and you just gotta like go from there, and then they'll mic it and everything, and you're good to go. It's always very comfortable.
And
I'm very surprised he had that experience.
Are the tech guys? Are they like, they've hired some backline company to?
Yeah, well, exactly.
Work the festival.
But most of the artists I play for, they have their own sound guy or
right.
Own monitor guy, and which will make it easier because it depends. It just depends on what I'm doing and who I'm working with.
Right.
It just totally depends. Like if it's side stage and there might be not a budget, whatever. So the artist I'm playing with, we'll use the house guy. Some artists I play with, we tour with, like. A front of house guy, a monitor guy, a merch guy, and then some are just nobody, and you just use whoever's there. It just depends on the budget and the size of the artist and where they want to spend their money, But
right.
Sorry, what was your initial question?
I don't remember.
Yeah, it was right. I just sing a lot. I say right.
I'll pay attention to that now.
I haven't done that today, I don't think. But yeah,
we'll let the record speak for itself. Do you think it's I watched this part of this video. It was Bill Evans, the piano player, being interviewed by his brother, and he was talking about appreciation of different styles. And the way I paraphrased it, he said it in a very smart way. The way I paraphrased it was, he was of the mind that you could, given enough exposure to any style of music, you could eventually come to like it. Which I guess,
for me,
I'm wondering, do you think that's the case?
For me personally, definitely. There's not a lot like. There's really not a style I don't like,
Right.
But what's like? Obviously,
I guess I was thinking of
he's talking about
who knows? He probably was talking about some spiritual shit too. But like, I'm curious because
what's the point of that? What is it?
I forget. I don't remember. I just liked the fact that this guy who was like so entrenched in this jazz world was willing to admit something like that.
Right.
I don't know how much more particular he got than that.
I think, man, but I don't know. I think if you're a good musician, a really good musician,
you should
be open to.
And I think that's kind of where a lot of, like, I think as time goes on, the way that something like, say, country or something will further dilute that pool is through world music in particular. I think, like, quote unquote world music, the non-North American, European kind of stylistic embellishments and shit.
So you're saying world music fusing into country music?
Yeah. In some ways.
Yeah,
fuck,
I mean,
man.
like Sting did it in pop and like.
I heard some guy on the CBC who was from like Laos or somewhere who would like move to like Newfoundland to like play country or something like that.
Yeah, that might be like that might take a while to get into the mainstream thing, but no, I mean like, yeah, I hope so. I would love a world like that, you know? I mean, a lot of times these industries are run by kind of the same people. Like you know, it's like I've been to these places in Nashville, like, you know, sort of, you know, Big Machine and, you know, Big Loud Mountain and all these kind of labels. And there's a whole team of them. And there's probably the same with writers and producers. And, you know, it's like as big of a scene it is. It's a small town, Nashville. And, and all the shit comes out of there, most of it. And so it's like, you know, you'd have to come from a different angle of it, I guess. Something else would have to break. Like,
so do the country acts that you play with, or do you go down to Nashville to record?
I don't know, like, the way the kind of system... That's an interesting question. Like, a lot of people ask me this, actually. Like, so, because we're up in Canada here, like, I play live with these artists, and I'll, you know, do live recording, stuff like that. But no, they're always...
they have, like, so-and-so session guy down in Nashville to play the drums?
And most of the time, man, there's not even drums on the record. It's produced, it's beats, and it's...
That's crazy. Programmed. So, like... And it's not... Like, it's played in such a way that it doesn't sound like it's programmed?
Pretty much,
or do they just not even fucking care because pop music uses programming all the time?
Yeah, a bit of both. I mean, I have a hard time telling, you know, a real drummer, because a lot of the times if it is a real drummer, it's beat detected, you know, and it's sort of Pro Tooled and gridded so much. Obviously, if it's like I can really feel there's, you know, sounds wise, but yeah, like a lot of the stuff I'm learning is like, you know, I play sample pad a lot, and I don't with country, like I use triggers a lot with pop artists, but I have yet to do that with a country artist. But you know, I'm like putting the clap on the pad or the 808 or something. So that's all fused in. But yeah, no, I go down to Nashville a lot. Like I said, I'm playing a show there next week, and yeah, I've done showcases down there. I've done other kind of shows. Yeah, I mean, it's the market obviously for it, but no, for a lot of that is like, man, there's a scene there. It's kind of like, you know, when people try to get into the session scene here, it's like, how do you do it? You just gotta be in here forever, and you know people, and that's the thing there. It's like it would, yeah, it's very rare that a musician goes down from Canada to record down there. It does happen, but it's not as common.
Is it so with had you ever thought about moving to one of those places? Well, you have, I think, but
I thought about LA for a while. I have thought about Nashville. I mean, it's kind of one of the things where I've always, I mean, as a career thing, I've always thought, you know, when my schedule dries up, maybe I'll think about moving. And it just, thank God, knock on wood, it hasn't dried up. It's always just gotten better and better. So, LA was an idea, but then I don't know. I just got busier and busier here, and kind of doing the things I would want to doing in LA anyway. So, you know, I don't know. Who knows what the future brings? But now Nashville, I'm not as crazy of a fan of the city Nashville personally. Yeah. I like LA. I love New York, but New York's really hard to live. Obviously, like, and you know, be a musician there. But yeah, have you ever been to Nashville?
When I was young,
okay.
Yeah.
It's very different now. Like, I think they say 100 people move to Nashville a day.
Really?
It's massive. It's because it's a small town with a huge impact, right?
Okay, yeah.
So it feels like that. Yeah, I've always, the longest I've been there is like a week, you know, so I really can't say, but I don't know. I mean, to start over, it's a whole thing, you know? Like, I don't know if I would want to move.
Yeah, you'd have to, like, look up your handful of friends who live there and...
Yeah.
I don't know what, go to a million shows.
Yeah, and a lot of friends of mine... Yeah, well, I mean, you know, I don't know how it works. A lot of friends of mine have moved there, and yeah, but, like, some of my friends who've done really well in that scene are still here, and they just, you know, travel down and get booked on tours from down there and stuff. So, yeah.
It's always a solid status symbol when you get to write that in your Instagram profile. It's like YYZ to whatever Nashville's like airport is called.
Right.
Back and forth, you know, I kind of bounce back and forth between one of those things.
Right. Well, you know Mark Rogers, you took a bass lesson of him. He's an amazing guy and musician, and he lives half as, I want to say, sorry Mark if I'm wrong, but I want to say half his year here and half his year there. His wife, who's a producer, I think she lives there.
Oh, cool.
And I don't know how much she's back, but like I'm doing a session with her in a few weeks, for an artist that she's producing, and it's here. So obviously she does do work here and stuff like that. But yeah. Anyway, like, you know, they've made that move, and they, you know, go back and forth, and I think he really likes it. You know, so it's cool. He does a lot of like writing and producing and stuff like that, I think. So I mean, they're a team, you know, so it's cool.
Right. Yeah, that world is an interesting one. The producers like working with aspiring talent kind of things.
No, I think she works with like label bands that are, you know what I mean, that are doing their next record and stuff.
Because I think he used to have. I did my lesson with him at a space. One of his he had a space at Canterbury, and
right. Cool.
Yeah, it seemed as though he was doing the type of thing where he'd quote unquote work with this or that artist. Right. I'm always curious. I'd be curious to know some of the stories of how these artists, initially meet one of these producers.
Right.
Like someone's dad knows somebody who.
Oh, it could be anything. I mean, the craziest was that punk rock band that did a lot. Didn't really ever get off the ground, but I rehearsed them for a bunch. And the Corbans, they were called. It was Steve, is like a killer violin player, and he played a gig with Justin Abbott and playing guitar.
Right.
And then he was like, "Yeah, I'm looking to do this punk rock thing.
That's right.
I don't play violin anymore," and blah blah blah. And so then Justin was like, "Well, I know the guys, and let's put it together, and I can help you get this happening." And then it's just he was back and forth a lot with Winnipeg, and just never really got off the ground. But it was really fun and cool.
Right.
Cool times.
Yeah. I did backups.
Yeah, man.
On those recordings. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's been awesome. I
usually these things, I haven't gone back and listened to them, but they're all just kind of like, it's like, all right, I'll shut it off now. And then that's like the end of it. Yeah.
Right.
So, and that's it for Jack Chats, folks. For now, at least. Please leave a comment and let me know what you think. Make sure to subscribe too, because who knows what the future holds. And thanks for listening. I really enjoyed doing it.